What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning into the Local Crown podcast, where we're going to teach you how to wage war on your competition and earn your local crown, also known as the top spot on Google.
What's up, local crown entrepreneurs? I'm here with Shamus Goss today, and we are going to talk about everything he does, everything he's involved in, and I'm going to hand the mic over to him and let him introduce himself to all the people who don't know him.
How you doing? My name is Shamus Goss. I am a serial entrepreneur located in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm here to talk about real estate, e-com, and anything that has to do with entrepreneurship. I'm in it for it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. So can you give us a little bit about your backstory more, how you got involved in this, how you got started?
So I was originally born in South Bronx, New York. I stayed there. I lived there until I was about 28. My first business that I launched was a record company in the early 90s. That's where I started. 17 years old, 18 years old, wanted to put records out. Went from label to label, couldn't get a record deal. And I was like, you know what? This can't be that difficult. And I did it myself. Had a lot of success with it. Put records out that went top 10 on Billboard independently. Everybody else is on major record labels. I'm on an independent record label. So I did the music. I was in the music industry from about 92 to 2002. And then I kind of got frustrated with how the entire music industry was working. This was prior to internet, direct to consumer. It was cassette, CDs, and vinyl, right?
Yeah.
When I came down to Atlanta, Georgia, I took about 2 years to try to figure out what I really wanted to do. I went back to school for construction management. And then what wound up happening is I wind up coaching a youth basketball team. And the guy that was selling me uniforms kept telling me, hey, man, you're working in the gym. There's hundreds of teams. You can work, you can make a lot of money with uniforms. I was like, man, I'm not staying no money in uniforms. I'm not selling no uniforms. I was going to school for construction management. I was working at Walmart in the evenings, overnight shift. And then I was coaching youth basketball from like 4 o'clock till 10 o'clock. Then from 11 to 7, I was at Walmart. Then from 7 to 12 or whatever, I was in school. So I only had 3 or 4 hours to like sleep.
Wow.
And I remember the first thing I would have to do when I came into work in evenings in Walmart was I would have to get me a pack of Mountain Dew. I had to give me a 6-pack of Mountain Dew and Oreo cookies. That was my energy boost for the next 8 hours. If you ever drove in a vehicle and you drink a Mountain Dew, it's like taking a caffeine pill. You're up for 8 more hours. I don't drink soda or nothing like that.
Yeah.
So I was in a break room and I hear a guy sitting there, and he was like, I make $7 an hour now. When I first started, I was making $5, and I've been here for 8 years. And at that moment, I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not an hourly employee. So I got up, went to the front, asked, it was payday actually. I asked the manager, I said, listen, can I get my check? And she's like, well, we're not supposed to give you a check until the end of the shift. I was like, I don't have nothing to eat. She gave me my check. I cashed it. I took my apron off. I was like, I quit. I quit.
Wow.
I can't do this, right? So the guy that was selling me the uniforms, I was purchasing uniforms for a youth team that I had. I had a young team. And again, he was like, hey, can I take you out to breakfast? And I'm like, sure. So we get to breakfast, and he was like, here's business cards. Have business cards with my name on it and everything. And I'm like, what is this? He was like, trust me, give it a shot. That was October. From October to December, I sold about $80,000 worth of uniforms. I made about $18,000 in 2 months.
Wow.
At that point, I was like, I'm selling uniforms.
Yeah, there's a better way.
Yeah, it's a better way, much better way. So I started that about 2002. 2004, I really got into launching my company. We started out at a garage, and my mindset was, if I could just make an extra $50,000, $100,000, if I could make $50,000 to $100,000 a year, this is 15 years ago. I'm like, we're in the top 10% or whatever like that. So we started out of the garage. Long story short, we built that company up to 7 figures, right?
Wow.
I didn't, when I did the construction management in school, I only went for, it was about 3 months. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to swing no hammer. I'll pay somebody to swing the hammer. I just want to get into real estate, right? So I got tied into the uniforms. 2004 to 2016 is when I ran my uniform company. And we reached 7 figures out of the garage, 14 years, 16 years. We reached 7 figures, owned a factory in the Philippines, was importing from China and places like that. And what wind up happening is I wind up working in my business and not on my business. Even though I scaled it to 7 figures, I was in the same industry with Nike, Under Armour, and Adidas that's doing 2 to 3 billion. I'm like, something is wrong, right?
Wow.
But mind you, other than the 3 months of construction management, I didn't graduate from college. I was the only one in my family to actually graduate from high school. College just wasn't for me because I knew, you're standing up there trying to teach me science that's not going to help me earn money. And I know I can make more money than you are standing up there. So the college just wasn't for me. For some people, if you're going to school and you're going to be an attorney or a lawyer, then yeah, I'm not going to let you operate on me if you don't have 12 years of medical degree or a lawyer, right? But for entrepreneurship, you just have to have hustle. If you have hustle, you can get to wherever you want to go, especially if you believe in manifestation and stuff like that. You can think it into existence. So 2016, company peak year, doing 7 years, I crashed. I got completely burnt out. Came in the office one day, told my wife, I'm like, I don't want to do this no more. Closed down. Everybody was like, what? They was like, you're doing $1 million a year. I'm like, yeah, but I haven't taken a vacation in 7 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care about the money. So I closed that down. And when I did that, that's when I took my first step to try to start gaining my education about real estate. And that's what I wound up going into. And then a little bit before that, when I had the uniform company, I started dabbling in on Amazon, selling on Amazon and purchasing products and building brands and stuff like that. So that's what I wound up doing. That's my main business now. It's real estate, it's e-com, mentoring, coaching, and just trying to put as much value out there for people to, to get their dreams, get to where they want to be, to make their dreams come true and everything. So I love entrepreneurship. I would have never done it. I've been an entrepreneur 25 years legally.
Yeah.
My young age, I was telling a story. I was actually doing a podcast. It was about 2 months ago. And he asked me, he was like, what was your first shot at entrepreneurship? When I was about 7 or 8 years old in the Bronx, the building that I lived in was 6 floors, 36 apartments. And this is the South Bronx in the 70s and the 80s. It's bad. It's bad. So my first job business was half of the apartments in the building were drug spots. Weed, coke, it was drug spots, right?
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would go to the doors, knock on the doors, and I would tell the guys hustling, hey, if you need something from the store, I'll go for you, but it's going to cost you 50 cents or $1. So that's what I wind up doing. And my mother was like, where are you getting this money from? And I'm like, I go to the stores. I took a bunch of them down to the store and let them know, hey, if I come down to buy beer or cigarettes at 8 years old, it's not for me, it's for them. So that's how I started making my little bit of money. And then what I would do is I would get up early because right next to my building was my school. And then what I would do is I would get up early. I would go to we had a corner store. I would go to the corner store. I knew I would get up before everybody else, buy penny candies. And then when school started, the crossing guards wouldn't let nobody cross. So I would sell them the candies for 5 cents. I'm like, I got candy, but it's 5 cents.
Wow.
And that was my first shot at entrepreneurship. And I never went back from there. I only had 3 jobs in my entire life, ever.
That's pretty cool though. That's definitely like inspiring. I mean, hearing that when like someone was young, I wish I had that, like, I guess confidence to just go out and start things, So that's awesome. Yeah. Just like speaking to, you know, how you move through these areas and you just had this insane work ethic. You put out on your Instagram, which is, I'm going to tag it here at Shamus Goss, if anybody would like to go follow, a video that was actually pretty powerful on content about focus and harnessing the power of focus. And like, it seems like just, you know, the work ethic you just have incredible focus. How did you gain that? How did you create that, I guess, in your life?
Well, I think it's different for each person. For me, it was, my wife and my kids. Like, my back was against the wall. Like, I know that they count on me, from an early age. I know that they count on me. So it's more like that's my why. And then secondly, trying to and breaking the generational curse of being like the first millionaire in the family. I think that's what drives me. It's like, it's not about me anymore. It's about creating a legacy and then being able to teach that to our kids and our god kids and pass it down and actually breaking that cycle of poverty. I think that's what drives me. It's like, I don't have no choice. Like, nobody ever gave anything to me,
Yeah.
I was a troubled kid. I got kicked out of 7th grade with a firearm. They wouldn't let me in no more schools in the Bronx. And it was my sister that took me from the Bronx to upstate New York, which was a completely, totally different environment. And that just, I was like, there's so much more out here. And, the drive always been there. My friends, my wife, they was like, I don't understand how you do it. I don't understand how you pivot from one industry to the other. And no matter how many times you get knocked down, you just get back up. I'm like, I really don't have a choice. Maybe it's just what God put into me. So I don't know if that is something that you're born with, or can a certain event in your life get you there. I used to believe in motivation, but the thing about motivation, let's use an example of a homeless person. Let's just say he's homeless and he has motivation to get off the street. So he goes out there, he runs around, he does what he does. He gets money. He finally gets that apartment. Once you get that apartment, where do you go from there? Your motivation is gone. Like, you got to where you needed to be. The motivation is completely gone. I think you have to kind of find your purpose, and you have to look outside of yourself and say, hey, my mother counts on me, my brother, the kids that's going to come in the family, they're going to count on me. I have to do that. And then I think that you have to have the ultimate discipline to be committed to things. I was actually on a real estate call this morning, and I was talking about there's 160 hours in a week, right? And you ask people, why are you not consistent at this? I don't have time. If you work for 40 hours a week, you still have 120 hours left. And let's just say you sleep for 8 hours a day. 40 is gone. What are you doing with the other 80 hours? You're doing things that really are not productive and they're not going to move you forward.
Yeah.
We start partying and doing those other stuff. When you actually look at the time in a day or the time in a week that you had productive time, it's really, really small. You say, okay, yeah, well, I worked on my book for 30 minutes. Yeah, but what did you do for the other 159 hours and 30 minutes? What did you do?
Yeah.
Right. I think the people that manage their time and realize, like, hey, for my podcast, it's going to be 10 hours a week. For my personal training, it's going to be 10 hours a week. And you allot that, and then you just move all of the distractions out of the way. That's what
Yeah, it's not, you're creating.
I know I went on and on and on.
No, it's great, because I think that's like such a big thing is people think that I have to train myself to focus, but if you just take your time and you tell yourself what you're going to do with it, you're already focused on what's going to be done in that time, which is such a great concept. Yeah, I think that can move so many people forward, especially like you said, you're in real estate now. You went from, athletic apparel from music to athletic apparel to real estate, like you've got to shift your focus so much. And you moved into real estate, and that was kind of your main goal, you would say, like at the end of it, you always wanted to be there. Like, what does that all entail on, I guess, a different level of focus when dealing with people in housing?
Well, real estate for me is, if you look at the most successful people and the richest people, the wealthy people, 60 to 70% of them invest in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Real estate is the foundation for wealth.
Yeah.
Right. So I think if you start out real estate at a very young age, especially if you're 18, you're 19, you're 20 years old, and you get into real estate, you could be a millionaire by the time you're 30. Right.
Yeah.
So I think real estate is definitely it's the foundation, and it's taking ownership. Like, most people don't take ownership. They don't own nothing. And when it comes to purchasing a house, the house that you actually purchase, it's a liability. Even though you're paying on it in assets, I mean, and you're cutting down your mortgage and everything, if it's not producing income, the meaning of a liability is something that takes money from you.
Yeah.
An asset is something that gives money to you. So if you have a property and you're renting it out, let's say, your rent on it is $1,000 a month, and you're renting it out for $1,400. You got $400 cash flow. That's an asset. That's an asset. Especially in younger people nowadays, they rather rent, because you may live in Georgia today, but you're young. You decide to get up and go move to California, but you got a house now. You can't take the house with you. You have to sell a house and sit on it and everything. So I think, going into that, and my long-term goal is to get into affordable housing, to go into areas, opportunity zones where it's underprivileged, whether it's Black, whether it's white, and help those people out. Because I think the difference right now, it doesn't have anything to do with Black and with white. It's educated and it's uneducated. That's what it is. That's what separates the 1% from the 99%. They know something that you don't know. That's it. It's not like they're Superman or Superwoman or nothing like that. They just know something that we don't know. And I tell people, where you are and where you want to go, everything in between is what you don't know. It's what you don't know. You have to try to figure it out. And if you don't consistently, I say fail forward, you're gonna be stuck. Like, most people operate off of fear. I made investments, 6 figures, 7 figures, and lost it. Most people, one time you get hit in the face, they're like, I'm out. I'm like, no, there's something. You win or you learn.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in between. Just because I didn't make money off of it, it doesn't mean that it was a complete loss. Financially, yeah, but I might have learned the tool that I need, that when I get back up and I move forward now I plunge into 7 figures, and now I build this multi-million or billion-dollar company,
Yeah. Wow. No, that's awesome. And that's like such a good thing to think about, is even though you lost a bunch of money, just think about how much knowledge you gained. So like, you can always get that money back, but you can never just gain knowledge without learning, like failing, so that's so incredible and powerful. Is that like, so moving this real estate in, is that how you kind of want to, I know you have a nonprofit, if you want to like kind of talk about that, and are you going to kind of merge those together, or is that anything you'd like to do?
Yes. So the nonprofit is it's called HELP, and that's Help Every Living Person. One of the main things we do is we feed the homeless. We go down into the city of Atlanta and we feed the homeless and clothe them, right? We had to take a break during COVID because so much stuff was going on. I'm like, we can't be interacting with people, but we just started back up. And then there's the business side of the nonprofit. So what that entails is, let's just say you're a young entrepreneur. You have to be between the ages of 8 and 16. And let's just say you have the dream to start a hat company. What you do is you put together a small business plan, 1 page, 2 page. It doesn't have to be, a 30-page business plan like most corporations want. Just telling me, like, what are you looking to do? What are your dreams? Why do you think that this is going to be helpful for you? And then what we do is, we pick certain kids, and then let's say it's hats. What we'll do is we'll go buy them their first 500, 1,000 hats, build a website for them, teach them about, give them some marketing dollars, teach them how to use the business techniques. Because in every industry, no matter what industry you're in, there's just certain business principles that relate across every board, whether it's customer service, customer retention, sales, marketing, it's in every single industry. So just teach them the basics and the fundamentals of business. And I'm not saying that that kid is going to become a millionaire off of it. But what I am saying is at 8, 9 years old, once you instill that entrepreneurship spirit, it's hard to break. It's hard to break because you know, like, hey, for me, what pushed me also into entrepreneurship is I knew that I was willing to do more than the next person, but I wasn't willing to do more and get paid the same as him or her. I'm willing to work 80 hours. I'm willing to go above and beyond and self-improvement and courses and mentors and everything, which most people aren't.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, working for somebody, it's just not going to work for me because I have big dreams and I want to make a lot of money and I'm capped here. So I think entrepreneurship and then COVID, it made everybody pivot. And that for the first time in my lifetime, the world stopped. Everything stopped. Right? If you didn't learn to become an entrepreneur during COVID, you're not going to do it. It's funny. I was on Clubhouse and Elon was talking and they asked him, they said, what's some words of encouragement for entrepreneurs? And he said, if you need words of encouragement, don't do it. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's right. You know, and you got to take chances. I'm in the middle of reading his book. I do a book a week.
Nice.
And his book, he was telling about when he sold his shares of PayPal, he sold it for $180 million. He invested $100 million into SpaceX. He invested $70 million into a solar company. And then he invested the other $10 million into another company and had to borrow money to pay rent.
Wow.
That is incredible, right?
Yeah.
That he had 180 million. He invested the entire 180 million, but had to go borrow rent for the next month.
Yeah.
That's why he is who he is. Like, he still spends 18 hours a week and sleeps at the plant, and he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
But what drives him is that he has a bigger purpose. It's not about him. It's about changing the world and keeping everybody safe. So I think for the people that get super successful, I think for the most part, they find their purpose.
Yeah.
You know, they have integrity and everything. The purpose is what's going to drive you to get to where you want to be, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like that's such a big thing with, like you said, I kind of hit, or not even hit I'm sure you have bigger goals each time, but like when you hit that, oh, I made it here. How do you get past that? Okay, I didn't even think I'd hit this point. And let alone I even want more, in a sense, until you find that now I'm helping other people get there, you know? Exactly. And that's you. Cause you're like, I'm here. I like you said, I don't care about money at this point. It's the fact of my new purpose is I can help people do this. And that's probably more satisfying and like so much more grateful than anything else you could do.
It is. It's helping somebody and giving them the blueprint and steps to follow and seeing them win. And that's what I noticed. You know, I've been with my wife 33 years and I would build companies, get it to 7 figures, and then say, hey, I don't want to do this no more.
Yeah.
Right. Then I realized what I really was in love with was the process. It's like when you're chasing a boy. Oh, he's so cute, but when you get him after 6 months, you're like, oh yeah, he's on my couch. That's the boy. It's different, right? Yeah. It's like you have that drive where you're chasing a girl. Oh, she's the beautifulest girl in the world. Then when you date her a year in, you're like, yeah, she gets to go to sleep, but you're arguing and stuff like that. I think that's what it is. It's like it's the process. It's like, okay, this is what I set out to do, and during the journey, you go through so many different things that when you get there, it's like you said, it's like the barbaric mentality. Like, okay, I took over this continent. Now I want that continent. You know, you can do it in a good way, and you could do it. You could be a corporate raider and take over companies like Carl Icahn and stuff like that. But for me, it's the process. It's like what goes on in the process. Because I know, because it's extremely funny. I believe in the law. The law of attraction is like incredible, right? I manifest so many things. And I think that you have to have that. Like, you really have to believe that this can get done. You have to see it, you have to visualize it, and you have to put yourself there before you even get there. And if you could get emotionally attached to it, like, for example, let's say you walk in your mother's house, and you smell a particular smell. It could bring back memories. Oh, those are the cookies that mom used to make at Christmas time, right?
Yeah.
I tell people things that you want. If you want to drive a particular car, go to the dealership and sit in it and smell the leather. Because what happens is you now anchor an emotion to it, and your emotion is going to push you farther than just saying, yeah, I want to drive this or I want to buy that. It's like, oh, I could smell the seats, I could smell the leather, you know. And I think that you have to do that and push yourself past there, right? And then, like you said, it gets to a point where it's bigger than you. It's like, I got to help my mother now. I got to help my father. I got to help my sister, my brother. Because a lot of times, you know, I was having a conversation, and it was a buddy of mine. He told me, he said, you know, he was having some issues with his wife, and he says, she doesn't believe in me. And I said, there's a difference between support and believing. I was like, let's just say you tell your significant other, I want to fly, and you walk up to the roof. They're going to walk up to the roof with you, right? Because they're going to support you. But on the other end, they're going to call the ambulance, because when you jump off that roof, you're going to die, right?
Yeah.
You can't expect somebody to believe something that you have never showed them, right? They have to see it. Like, if I pull up in a rundown car and I say, hey, I'm gonna become a millionaire next year, you're gonna be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But if I pull up in $100,000 or a $200,000 car, I'm like, yeah, I'll be a millionaire 6 months. You're like, oh yeah, I believe it. So I think at times people misunderstand support and belief, like belief. So like, they're not gonna believe in you until you get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
you have a handful of people. Yeah, you have a handful of people that will support you, but once you get there, then everybody comes back. Oh, I knew your podcast would have 1 million subscribers. No, you didn't. Yeah. You didn't even think I could do it, right? But that's what should fuel you, you know?
Yeah, no, that's incredible. Actually, I really love the whole like sit in a car thing. I'm about to go to a dealership and like sit in some Jeeps, because that's awesome.
Exactly.
I actually think that's so true. Like, you don't even understand how much physical sensations can make you just so connect to things. And I think that's like such an important point of put yourself around that, you know? And that's such a simple way, because I remember trying to think about like ways I can insert myself into the life I want, you know? I'm like, I'm never around these things. Like, I don't even know how to look for that. And so, yeah, just something as simple as going and sitting in a car, you know, they don't have to know you're not going to buy it. So yeah, that's really awesome and powerful. Yeah. So
a great book to read for manifestation is called The Secret.
The Secret. Okay.
Short read, 4 hours. It's all about manifestation.
Awesome.
It'll change the way you think about manifestation.
The Secret. Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to repeat that so everyone else gets it. I wrote it down here, so I'm with you on the reading. I'm trying to up my reading every week, so The Secret, it was going to have to be a start. And yeah, just I've heard that from a lot of, you know, people that have gotten where they want to go, just manifesting this image of you already there, you know, already doing these things. And like you said, you have to put that whole life, family purpose with it, and give yourself a reason to get there. And like, that'll keep you moving through the hard times, but you have to imagine and know you're going to be there. So yeah. Exactly. Wow. Yeah. So just one last question here. If I guess when you're in this industry of like combining, you know, nonprofit plus real estate plus all these different buckets you're filling, you seem very good at organizing this. It's spreading yourself out. And like you said, I mean, you kind of hit a breaking point. Like, you didn't take a vacation for 7 years, you know, things like that. And that's that work ethic that I think people so appreciate. But how do you organize yourself in that way? And how do you, I guess, spread yourself to all these different areas? Is it just because you genuinely enjoy them all, or does it get hard sometimes and there's things you have to do?
Well, it definitely gets hard at times. I do enjoy real estate. I enjoy e-com because I think that's the future, to the fact that, you can make money from your phone, your laptop. Me and my wife took a 42-day vacation. I made more money on vacation than I did when I was in my office, right? I think that what I learned to do is to outsource as much stuff as possible, right? Because, people will say, hey, I only make $15 an hour. I don't make enough money. It's a simple solution to it. Find a trade or a skill set that pays you more money, study it, become an expert at it, and then go into that field. And that's the end of your money problems, right? It's simple. So I think learning to outsource, which it's kind of funny because when I closed my uniform company down in 2016, because I was so burnt out when I closed the company down, we lost everything. It's funny that you say Jeeps. Me and my wife purchased a Wrangler Jeep for my daughter for graduation. It got repoed. Our cars got repoed. Jet skis got repoed. Everybody was like, you're crazy. You shut down a 7-figure company. And I said, I don't want to do it no more. The first book that I picked up was The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss.
Gotcha.
And he basically said, look at your business and look at the things that only you can do, that you're irreplaceable. He said, I guarantee you that it takes less than 4 hours a week to do that. And that's what I went by. If it's a $10 an hour task or $20 an hour task, I shouldn't be doing it if my skill set is closing big deals and transactions, right? When I was in the uniform, I was everything. I handled all 7 figures worth of accounts. I dealt with every customer, issues, putting out fires, happy customers. I took care of the marketing. I traveled overseas to deal with the factories and the plants. I did social media marketing. I even was doing the screen printing and everything. Like if I would have did that for another company, they would have paid me $1 million a year because I knew so many different things, right? So I think when I got out of when we closed down in 2016 and we lost everything, from 2016 to 2018 was probably I would say the 2 years that was the darkest for me in my life because I felt I was 44 years old. I was like, you know what? I let my family down. My kids count on me. My wife counts on me. I let them down. And those 2 years we struggled. But what brought me out of it is I started talking to God more. And I started having conversations with him. Like, is this my legacy? Is this like, is this what is that it? Right. And from 17 years old to 44, I never picked up a book. I was like, hey, I'm a hustler. I can make money. I could sell water to a whale. I'm going to make money. But I didn't understand the structure of business and KPIs and SOPs and processes. I didn't understand none of that. I knew of it, but I didn't know how to implement it. Right. So in hindsight, what I had was an expensive job. That's all I had because I couldn't take a vacation. If I left, the company was shut down because nobody knew what to do. Right.
Yeah.
So I think what I wind up doing that helped me in these industries is I outsource almost everything now.
Yeah.
And it's just the money making task or the task that's gonna push the company forward that I spend my time on now. So that's how I manage. I do know that you have to get to a certain point to have the confidence to do that, but you'd be surprised how if you're running a business and you're good at sales and you're like, oh, it's a small business, you're making money, but you're doing the bookkeeping and you're delivering orders and you're doing all of these other things. Yeah, because you want to keep all of the money. But if you just said, hey, I'm gonna pay this person to do it so I can do more of what I'm good at, you'll be surprised how you will double your income.
Yeah.
And that's how you grow. And a friend of mine, super successful guy, owned a sneaker brand and he sold to Reebok back in the 90s and everything. And he called me one day and he said, Shamus, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm selling uniforms. He was like, do you realize how talented you are? And you're letting people take your time and you're doing these type of tasks. Stop doing this, stop doing that. I listened to what he said because financially he was where I wanted to be. That year I went from 250 to 500,000 in 12 months. I doubled 100% my income.
Yeah.
And then I kept doing it. Like, okay, what can I outsource? What do I have to get rid of? What? So I think you have to look at the things that you're the only one that can do it. And once you figure that out and you start to outsource, you're going to see yourself rapidly grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And that's like so interesting because you said you love the process of building it. I bet it's just because you had such a hard time pulling yourself out of that process because you loved being in it. It's like a game, you know, like it's hard to pull yourself away from that when you're invested in it, but at the same time, it's not going to help you grow. So that's a hard balance to find.
Exactly.
Wow. That's really cool. Yeah. Sounds like, I'm just actually in shock because you said you didn't outsource anything, but like you're making 7 figures, you know what I mean? That's insane. That's a huge business. So I don't know. I need some caffeine now or something.
It was a lot of long nights, and with the uniform company, I used to get up. Now I get up at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, but I would get up in the morning and just lay in the bed and tell my wife, you go in. I don't want to go in. I'll go in later. I just started resenting the business because I was making money, but I couldn't go on vacations. I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just, it completely burned me out. And that's what winds up happening. Because as soon as I read the 4-Hour Workweek, I felt like Tim was talking to me. Like he made fun of me in the book. He's like, oh, Shamus, this is what happened to you. And I was like, but then I looked at it and I was like, he's absolutely true, right? So now, especially with COVID, everybody can do a lot of things. So many millionaires are being made. So many entrepreneurs are coming into play. I got a course that I'm going to release sometime in February, and it's a basic business course.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you the basic fundamentals of business, from picking a name, getting an LLC, taxing and credit and everything. And I'm making it so affordable. The course is only going to be $7.
Yeah.
So you cannot get a cup of coffee if you want to be an entrepreneur and go buy this course.
Yeah. Do you know the name of the course or quite yet, or are you still?
I haven't came up with the name yet. We're in the middle of developing all of the modules because I'm putting together, it's the Goss Academy. Okay. And it's going to basically just be a resource where people can go if you want to, understand, people don't even know that with business credit, with business credit, 6 to 8 months, you can build capital for your business and get credit cards where you could then take that credit card and go fund one of your dreams, right? Yeah. Well, most people won't take that chance. Like, people don't know also, like life insurance policies. When you say life insurance policies, the first thing they think, oh, I'm not worried about dying. No. Did you know that the top 5 companies, the CEOs take the majority of their income paid into a life insurance policy? Okay. Because you can draw against it. So like if you have a policy and you have a $1 million policy and you have a cash value, you can borrow against it. Like if you're buying a home or buying a car, and use that money at a low interest rate while your money still sits on the market and profits, it compounds, right? Yeah. But people are not educated on that. They don't know that. I didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't know. I'm like, I ain't worried about dying. I'm like, no, it's not about dying. It's about being able to borrow against it. And you want to open up a Subway, you go to your insurance policy and you borrowed $100,000 from your insurance policy to launch the business. Those are just things that if you don't know, you don't know. If you didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs, it's going to be up to you to start digging. And I learned so much from YouTube. Anytime I want something, YouTube, like YouTube University, you can learn so much. So I tell people, just go for what you want to. Just go for what you want to do. Like, you only live one life. Even though I believe you do go to heaven. I don't believe you go to hell. I believe you do go to heaven. I believe earth is hell to some point, because so much stuff that goes on here, right? But I think that you have to take those chances. You have to fail forward, and you gotta give it. You gotta be committed and give it everything, and it'll work out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I've heard you say that twice now. The fail forward, and I really like that. That's something I feel like you can repeat to yourself, and it's just something that's great to stick. That's That's really cool. And YouTube, and yeah, I think people overlook how much you can learn from just going online and things. So yeah, is there any other tips like past, go on YouTube, fail forward, and find that internal motivation that you want to give our audience today?
Read, because you have so many successful people that put all of their tools and secrets in a book. If you don't like to read, like the only book, I have a practitioner's license in NLP. I read those books and I read the Bible. Everything else is audible. Like I'll go through 2 or 3 hours a day. I wake up at like 4:35. I pray, I meditate, look at my vision board, affirmations. I'll listen to a book for an hour, and then I'll go take a jog. Right, I'll go take a jog, let the sun get me up and everything. But read a lot, and try to find your purpose. And sometimes the best way to find that is just to realize that you're doing something for people that you may impact somebody that you don't even know, that that's the next Elon Musk or the next Warren Buffett, but something that you said got them to there, got something to crack. Because we all find these pivotal moments where you hear something and it just clicks. It just clicks. Like I was on a Zoom call it was a live with Myron Golden, and he broke down something that changed the way I thought about making money. And I'll just to be the last thing I'll leave you with. He said, the difference between a millionaire and a non-millionaire is they figured out how to get to $1 million faster. That's what they realized, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he said, let's just say you have a $20 product, and let's just imagine this on a whiteboard. You have a $20 product, right? You have that $20 product. You have to sell 50,000 of those to become a millionaire, right? Now, let's just say you go from a $20 product to a $200 product. Now, you only have to sell 5,000, right? Now, let's say you go up to a $2,000 product, right? Now you only have to sell 500. Let's just add one more zero, which is high, which would be high ticket. And you have a $20,000 item. You only need to find 50 people out of the 6 or 7 billion people on this planet to believe in you, and you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
That right there just clicked. And what I started doing was looking at all the things I was doing. I'm only making 5,000 over here. I don't want to do those no more. If it's 20,000, 30,000, 50, 100,000, that's where I'm spending my time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to make more money than it is to not make more money.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
It
right?
does.
If you think about it, and you're like, I'm gonna acquire these skills. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go into this industry because the average person in that industry makes $500,000, and you just outwork them. You just outwork them. So I read a lot. Don't be scared to take chances. I took chances so many times and lost money, and cars got repoed, houses got foreclosed on, and I just hit reboot and came back again stronger. So, but that's just me. Some people don't have that tolerance level. I have an extremely high tolerance level. And the funniest thing is, I don't like to gamble.
Mm-hmm.
I go to Vegas and stuff like that. I'll play $15 on a slot machine. I'm like, I'm not playing no more. I'm not losing no money. But I'll invest $100,000 or $250,000, knowing that I may lose that $250,000, right?
Interesting.
But that's just me,
Yeah, I think that just comes down to the trust you have in yourself. You're gonna make it work, but you don't know if that machine's gonna make it work for you. So yeah, exactly. I can see that. I can see that. Awesome. No, there's so many good pieces in this podcast. I hope people just re-listen to it, because I'm gonna have to give this a double listen just to pick up so much. I just want to ask one more thing if you want to kind of tell our audience where to find you, where to reach you. Your nonprofit sounds incredible. I'm sure tons of people will be interested in that. If you want to give them a link or whatever, where do we find you?
So the best way to get a hold of me and see me is definitely on Instagram. It's Shamus Goss, and then my website www.shamusgoss.com. If you go to shamusgoss.com and you look at companies, you'll see my nonprofit, you'll see some of my companies. But I say that's the better way to follow me. I got a YouTube channel. I'm just now getting into producing more content, and I'll be doing weekly content. But yeah, that's the best way to find me.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'm sure we'll all stay tuned for the Shamus Goss Academy and everything with it. So thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And that'll be it for us. And thanks for tuning into the Local Crown podcast to all you entrepreneurs. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you learned something. If you have questions, email us at info@thelocalcrown.com. And if you want to get featured in our publication, Inside the Empire, alongside John Lee Dumas, the entrepreneur on fire, Jayson Waller, the CEO of Power Home Solar, Sharon Lechter, Dan Caldwell, the man that started Tap Out, and the limitless man himself, Jim Kwik, for free, then head over to thelocalcrown.com/become a contributor.